Have you ever wondered what it truly means to give everything for someone you love? On a barren hill outside Jerusalem nearly 2,000 years ago, the greatest act of love in all of history unfolded, not with applause or recognition, but with nails, thorns, and blood. This was Golgotha, the place of the skull, where Jesus Christ, the sinless Son of God, gave his life for a world that had rejected him. The day began in tension. Jesus had been betrayed by one of his closest followers, abandoned by the rest, falsely accused by religious leaders, and brought before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor torn between justice and politics. Pilate himself admitted, "I find no basis for a charge against him," yet gave in to pressure from the crowds manipulated by the chief priests. The chant rose loud and fierce, "Crucify him!" Roman soldiers took Jesus and began their brutal work. They stripped him of his clothes, draped a scarlet robe across his torn shoulders, and twisted together a crown of thorns, pressing it deep into his brow. They mocked him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" not realizing that the one they struck was the King of Heaven itself. They spat on him, beat him with a staff, and led him away to die. The procession toward Golgotha was slow and agonizing. Jesus, already exhausted from flogging, struggled to carry the wooden crossbeam. At some point, the soldiers seized a man named Simon of Cyrene, forcing him to carry the cross behind Jesus. Along the way, a group of women wept loudly, but Jesus turned to them and said, "Do not weep for me, weep for yourselves and for your children." At the hill, soldiers nailed him to the cross between two criminals. Iron spikes pierced his hands and feet, and the cross was lifted high. Yet even in his agony, Jesus prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." The soldiers gambled for his clothing, fulfilling Psalm 22's prophecy, written 1,000 years earlier. Passers-by hurled insults. Religious leaders mocked. He saved others, but he can't save himself. But they didn't understand. He wasn't trying to save himself. He was saving them. From noon until 3 p.m., darkness covered the land. Creation itself seemed to mourn. In that eerie stillness, Jesus spoke 7 final statements, each filled with meaning. He cared for his mother, entrusting her to the disciple John. He responded to a criminal's cry for mercy with a promise, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Then came the most haunting cry, my God, why have you forsaken me?" For the first time in eternity, the perfect unity between the Father and the Son was broken. Jesus, carrying the full weight of humanity's sin, experienced true separation. So we would never have to. Near the end, he whispered, "I am thirsty." A soldier offered sour wine, and then, with one final breath, Jesus declared, "It is finished." Not a cry of defeat, but of completed purpose. The Greek word tetelestai means paid in full. The debt of sin had been canceled. Then Jesus cried out, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And he breathed his last. At that moment, the veil in the temple, which had for centuries separated people from God's presence, tore from top to bottom. Earth quaked, rocks split, graves opened. Heaven and earth responded to the death of their Maker. Even the hardened Roman centurion, standing guard, exclaimed, "Surely this was the Son of God." Others watching from a distance, including women who had followed Jesus since Galilee, were moved with sorrow and awe. Before nightfall, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the Jewish council, approached Pilate with courage and requested Jesus' body. Along with Nicodemus, who had once come to Jesus in secret, they wrapped the body in linen and spices and laid it in a new tomb carved from rock. A large stone sealed the entrance. The light of the world had been buried. But even in death, the story was far from over. The death of Jesus wasn't the end. It was the climax of a rescue mission planned from eternity. His suffering fulfilled over 300 prophecies. From Isaiah's, "He was pierced for our transgressions," to David's, "They pierced my hands and my feet." Every detail was divine design. The cross, once a Roman symbol of shame, became the emblem of love. The place of execution became the altar of redemption. Jesus' cry of "It is finished" still echoes today, declaring that your sin, your shame, your debt has been paid in full. John 3:16 says it best, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." This story demands more than admiration. It invites response. Will we ignore such a gift? Or will we kneel in gratitude, recognizing the cost of our salvation? Because the cross is not just a symbol, it's a choice. A moment where divine justice and mercy met in blood. Where love bled so life could rise. And though Jesus died, the grave would not hold him. 3 days later, everything would change again.